The wind howled across the frozen plains of Mars Colony Delta 9. Red dust mixed with snow in the storm, blinding anyone who dared to walk outside. Dr. Elias Warren stood alone in his metal cabin, sipping hot tea and reading an old Earth novel. The soft hum of machines was the only sound inside. He lived alone. By choice, it had been 3 years since anyone visited this side of the colony. The facility was marked abandoned after the incident, but Elias stayed behind. He said he liked the silence. Then, at exactly 2:30 hours, he heard a knock at first. He thought it was the wind. Then came a second knock slow. Heavy. Elias stood up. His hand hovered over the security panel near the door. No one should be here. No one knew this place was still active. He pressed the external camera button. Static. The storm was jamming the signal. A third knock. Louder. Then a thump. He opened. The door. A figure fell into his arms. She was covered in snow and dust, shaking and barely conscious. Her lips were blue. Her coat was torn and strange burn marks covered her arms. She looked up at him with wide, terrified eyes. "They're coming," she whispered, and then she collapsed. Elias didn't hesitate. He pulled her inside and shut the door. The wind screamed as it was cut off by the seal. He laid her on the small medical bed in the back room. She was freezing. He wrapped her in a thermal blanket and attached a scanner to her wrist. Heart rate, temperature, dangerously low. Unknown foreign substance detected in blood. "Who are you?" he asked softly. But she was unconscious. Elias looked at her clothes. They weren't from this colony. They looked military, but older, outdated, the kind used by deep space researchers. He noticed a symbol on her left sleeve, half burned, but still visible. It was a black circle with a red line through it. He froze. He had seen that symbol before. Facility 12. The project they shut down years ago. He stood back, heart pounding. No, that place was destroyed, but here she was. A living piece of a dead secret. Elias checked her injuries. The burn marks were not normal. They looked like heat damage, but were too clean, almost like a pattern. He scanned again. Her DNA was strange. Human, but not fully. "What are you?" he whispered, staring at the results on the screen. Suddenly, the lights flickered, then silence. The power came back on a second later, but it was enough to make Elias reach for his emergency weapon, a small plasma cutter. He locked all doors and activated internal security. As he turned back to her. She stirred, her eyes opened slowly, filled with fear and pain. She looked around the room, then at him. "Where am I?" she asked. "For now," Elias said. "This is Mars Colony Delta 9. You collapsed at my door." She tried to sit up but winced. "I shouldn't have come here." "Why did you come here?" he asked. She didn't answer. Instead, she looked at his face, searching for something. "Are you Elias Warren?" He froze. "How do you know my name?" "I read your files. You used to work on biogenesis protocols." "That was years ago. Before the ban, before Facility 12 was destroyed?" She said bitterly. "It wasn't." Elias felt cold. "What do you mean?" "They moved it. Underground. Kept the project alive. I escaped." He stared at her. "Escape from what?" She didn't answer right away. Then she whispered, "From them. From what they turned us into." Before Elias could speak again, the warning alarm blared. A drone had entered the airspace. They were no longer alone. Asterisk. The first thing she felt was warmth. Soft heat surrounded her like a blanket of fire after a long winter. Her body no longer shivered. The pain in her chest was still there, but dull now, like a fading echo. Then came the smell clean air mixed with something old. Books, maybe. Metal, oil. She opened her eyes slowly. A ceiling of steel panels stared back at her, blinking with tiny blue lights. A soft hum came from somewhere nearby. Machines, generators, life, support. She turned her head. She wasn't alone. A man sat across the room watching her. He had short gray hair, a thin face, and sharp eyes that didn't blink often. He looked calm but alert, like a man who didn't trust easily. "You're awake," he said. She tried to sit up. Her muscles protested, weak and sore. He didn't move, but his voice came again. "Careful. You were half dead when I found you. If I hadn't opened the door, the storm would have buried you alive." She looked at the window. Red snow pressed against the glass like ash. The storm still raged outside. She glanced down at her. Arms, bandages, burns covered her skin, but the pain was less now. She finally asked, "Where am I?" "Mars Colony Delta 9, Western Ridge." She frowned. "That's impossible. This place was shut down after the incident." He gave a small smile. "It was. Everyone left. Except me." Silence filled the room for a moment. Then she asked, "Why?" "Did you stay?" He looked at her for a long second. "Because sometimes the past doesn't let go." She stared at him. "You're Elias Vaughan." He nodded once. She closed her eyes. "I shouldn't have come here." "You said something before you passed out," he said. "You said they're coming." "Who's coming?" She opened her eyes again. Her voice dropped. "You really don't know?" "No." She sat up straighter. Her eyes were clearer now, sharper. "Facility 12 is still active, deep under the northern ice shelf. They kept the project going. New subjects, new tech. But something went wrong." He leaned forward. "You're talking about the human enhancement trials?" "I'm talking about the merge," she said. "They used alien code. From the black. Echo ruins, DNA that wasn't human." He froze. That was just a theory, unconfirmed signals from dead tech. She shook her head. It was real, and they didn't stop. "I was one of the test models. Gen Phase 3. I broke out before final integration." He looked at her arms, the burn marks. "That's not injury," he said. "That's interface scarring." She nodded slowly. "They were building us to survive off-world. Faster healing, stronger minds. But something inside me changed. Suddenly, the cabin lights flickered again. The power dipped for 3 seconds, long enough for both of them to react as Elias did. Walked to the control panel and checked the security feed. Outside, the red snow twisted unnaturally. A shape moved. Through it, something big. Something walking without noise. She stood beside him now, despite her pain. "They found me," she whispered. "They always find us." Elias stepped back from the screen. "Is it a drone?" She shook her head slowly. "No, it's one of us." She was staring at her own hand when Elias returned from the control room. Her fingers trembled slightly. Not from fear, but from something else. Her skin under the bandages glowed faintly, like veins full of starlight. "It's spreading," she said quietly. Elias said nothing. He placed a steaming cup beside her and sat down. "The thing outside," he began, ... It's single quotes, "it's gone. For now. But the signal's still weak. It's watching." She didn't look up. "It always watches. They sent it to bring me back." "You said it's one of you," Elias said. "What does that mean?" She finally turned her head. Her eyes were tired, but sharp. "It means I wasn't the only one they made." There was a long silence between them. The hum of the machines filled the gaps. Elias stood and activated his lab console. "I ran a scan while you slept," he said, tapping the screen. "Your DN? It's unstable. Adaptive. Your cells repair at a rate I've never seen before." She looked at the screen and back at him. "They called it Phase 3 hybridization. Splice tech from the Black Echo ruins. Alien material mixed with engineered human genes." "And you volunteered?" he asked, still studying the data. She laughed softly. "No one volunteers. They select you." "Or they buy you?" That made Elias pause. "How did you escape?" he asked. Her voice dropped. "One of the early prototypes lost control. It broke the locks. Killed the guards. The others didn't survive the breach. But I ran." Elias zoomed in on the cellular patterns on the display. "You shouldn't be alive. No one from Phase 3 made it past testing." She looked at him coldly. "You sound like you know the data." He looked away. "I helped design the base protocol." before they pushed it too far. That silence came again. He couldn't meet her eyes, so that's why you stayed here, she said finally. You were hiding too. He nodded. After I saw what the project became, I quit. But no one really walks away. She touched the scanner gently. They're building something, not just hybrids. Something bigger. Something older. Elias frowned. Older? She looked toward the window. We found ruins under the Martian ice. Not human. Not even close. They were sealed for a reason. Then she pulled something from the inside of her coat, a small cracked data chip. This has the map, she said. Facility 12. The outer tunnels and the other subjects. He took the chip and slid it into his system. The screen flickered, and an old interface appeared. Black screen. Red text. Access level. Red warning. Genome files contain unstable entries. Open file EO7YN. Elias hovered over the input, hesitating. Do you know what's on this file? He asked Dot. She nodded slowly. I think, it's me. Suddenly, the lights blinked again, once, then twice. A deep, unnatural sound echoed through the outer wall. Like metal groaning under pressure. He turned to her. It's back. She stood quickly now. No more fear in her eyes, just focus. We don't have much time. If it gets in, it won't just take me. What does it want? Elias asked Dot. She looked him dead in the eyes. It wants to bring me back to the hive, to finish the merge. Asterisk outside, the storm had stopped. But something worse had arrived. Elias watched from the upper deck. Window as the black transport ship landed without warning. No lights, no signal. Just silence and steam rising from its sides as it melted through the frozen dust. He had seen ships like this before, during retrieval missions for the governments. Deep projects. The kind of ships that erase people. She stood behind. Him, watching too, her face pale. They found us, she said. No distress signal was sent, Elias replied. Which means they were already tracking you. No, she said quietly. They were tracking you. Elias looked at her sharply. She continued. I was bait, a failed subject, disposable, but you're the original architect. Before he could answer, the ship's hatch hissed open. 3 figures stepped out. They wore full black armor, faces hidden behind mirrored masks. No words, no gestures, just slow movement, controlled, mechanical. The middle one held up a scanner. Inside the lab, Elias's console beeped. ID scan in progress. Target, drive, Elias Vorn. Status, located. His heart skipped. They're not here for me, she whispered, stepping back. They came for you. Elias stared at the screen. Then, at the chip she gave him. They've been watching since the moment I plugged this in, he said suddenly. Loud knocking echoed through the metal door. Not a request. A demand. Elias walked toward the security panel but didn't open it. Identify yourself, he said into the mic. A cold voice responded. Male, robotic. Dr. Vorn, you are in possession of restricted genetic data. Comply for extraction. She whispered from behind him. If you open that door, you're never coming back. He turned to her. What happens if I don't? She reached into her coat and pulled out a pulse disruptor. Small. Oh, but still deadly. You run. Elias looked back at the screen. The masked figures were still standing still, waiting, watching Dot. Then his console flickered. A second scan had begun. Scanning second subject. Subject not recognized. DN at class. Unknown. Alert. Non-human presence detected. His breath caught. They scanned you, he said. But they don't know what you are. She nodded. Because I am not part of their system anymore. Then the figures outside moved. Fast. One pulled a plasma cutter. They're breaching. Elias shouted. The wall shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. She stepped forward. Disruptor raised. Back door. There's a tunnel. Do you still remember the old vents under the lab? Elias's mind raced. Yes. Storage tunnel E. They ran. Behind them. Metal cracked. Sparks flew. Voices barked commands in code dot as they moved through the dark tunnel. Elias asked, "Why now? Why come for me after all these years?" She answered without turning. "Because what's inside you didn't die with the project." Elias stopped. "What are you saying?" She turned to face him. Her eyes glowed faintly in the dark. "I'm not the only one who escaped with changes." They didn't stop running until the metal turned to frost. Tunnel E was old abandoned years ago when the lab above was sealed. The walls were cracked, pipes frozen solid. But the deeper they went, the colder it became. Too cold for just Mars. Weather. Elias touched the frost-covered wall. His fingers stung instantly. "This wasn't here before," he said. She didn't stop. "It's the ice field. The one underneath the facility. It's growing." "Why?" She looked over her shoulder. "Because something underneath is waking up." He said nothing, but his heart was pounding. The cold wasn't just outside, it was inside him now. A strange ache had begun in his chest, spreading with every step. They reached a sealed vault. Door, ancient, rusted, the kind built to never open again. Except now. It was slightly open. She stepped forward and placed her hand on it. The door reacted not to her, but to Elias. It slid open slowly. Hissing like it was breathing, inside the room was circular, dim, and buried in ice. Frozen consoles lined the walls. In the center, a large glass chamber stood upright, cracked, inactive. But not empty. Inside was a body, a clone. Elias stared. It was him. Same face. Same scar over the left brow. Same burn on the palm. He stepped back, breath shaking. "What is this?" She whispered, "This is where they started it all." "This is where you died the first time?" "No," Elias said. "That's not possible. I left the project. I left." She turned to him, voice flat. "You never left. They just rebooted you." Elias fell to his knees. The pain in his chest surged. Now hot, electric. Memories flickered in his mind. Blurred lights, metal ceilings, voices calling out codes, and darkness. "You were their test," she said gently. "You were the only one they successfully reset. The others went mad, or burned out. But your mind came back clean?" He stared at the frozen clone. "So, I'm, a copy?" "No," she said. "You're the first human-machine merge that survived. Your memories, your choices, they're yours. But your body isn't." He stood slowly. "That's why they came. They don't want to erase me. They want to bring me back." She nodded. "You're not just part of the project. You're the project." Suddenly, a sharp beep echoed from her wrist. She looked down. "Motion sensors," she said. Something just entered the tunnel. Elias moved to the back wall. He remembered the emergency shaft behind the chamber. "Come on, we can cut through the old drone bay." But she didn't move. She was still staring at the clone. Her hands were shaking. He asked, "What's wrong?" She looked at him, eyes wide. "That's not the only chamber. There are more." Elias turned, and now he saw them. Dozens of pods. Behind the ice wall, all full. Some human, some... Not. His voice came out a whisper. They never stopped. They scaled the program. She touched the ice. And they're not asleep anymore. Asterisk. The ice was breathing. That's what it felt like. The air inside the frozen vault shifted in strange pulses. Not wind. Not heat. Like something behind the walls was exhaling. The pods hummed with low energy. Frost cracked, almost like bones. Bending beneath pressure. Then one pod lit up. Just one. Not Elias's, not hers. A different chamber near. The back flickered to life. Deep red, like a warning. She stepped backward. No. It's too soon." Elias stared at the pod. A shadow moved inside it. "Who is that?" he asked. "Not who," she whispered. "What?" The glass fogged up as something inside it pushed against it. Slow, steady. Then the glass cracked. Elias pulled her away. "Is that one of the Phase 3 South?" She shook her head. "Phase 3 didn't survive. That's a Phase 4. They made them after me." The glass exploded outward. The creature landed on its hands, human-shaped, but wrong. Its spine moved like a whip. Skin pale, stretched thin over enhanced muscle. Its eyes were black. No pupils, no emotion. It looked up and smiled. Hello, doctor. It said. Its voice was his. Elias took a step back. Is that? Yes, she said. They make copies of you too. The creature stood up, tall and silent. You left us behind, it said, walking forward. But I remember everything. You were the first. I was the perfected one. I'm not part of them anymore, Elias said firmly. The clone tilted its head. But you still carry the core. You still feel it, don't you? The heat in your chest. The dreams. The pain in Elias's body flared again, stronger than before. He fell to one knee. You're awakening, the clone said. Just like me. She raised her weapon. Stay back. The clone smiled wider. You're broken. I'm not. I was made to lead. Then it moved faster than either of them could react. In a blink, it was across the room, grabbing Elias by the collar and slamming him into the wall. She fired. The disruptor pulse hit the clone in the side, sending it crashing backward into a steel panel. It didn't scream. It just got back up. Pain helps us grow, it whispered. Elias pulled himself to his feet. How do we stop it? She looked around. We can't. Not here. But there's a kill code buried deep in the master system. We need to reach the surface lab. The drone bay? He asked. She nodded. We run now, or we die here. The clone leaped again, fast as lightning. Elias slammed the security door down between them just in time. Behind the glass, the clone laughed softly. You can't run forever, Doctor. You're still one of us. As they sprinted down the next corridor, Elias felt a dot inside his chest. The core was waking up and for the first time. It whispered back. Asterisk, he heard a knock. Not on the door. Inside. His mind. A deep, rhythmic pulse, like a fist against steel walls buried in his thoughts. Boom. 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 Elias opened his eyes. They were standing in the ruins of the surface lab. Red dust blowing in through shattered windows. The drone bay was gone, burned from the inside out. The clone was dead. Or maybe just gone. The wind had taken its body, but not its voice. That still echoed in Elias's head. You're still one of us. She was beside him, weak but alive. Blood stained her coat. Her pulse was shallow. The kill code, she whispered. In the mainframe, Elias stepped forward. The terminal flickered in the dark. Old, cracked, but still breathing. He reached for it. And the machine recognized him. Welcome back, Dr. Vorn. Activate core transfer protocol. YN, he froze. There it was, the final system. The heart of Facility 12. A decision, waiting only for him. She coughed behind him. You don't have to do this. But Elias already knew. The core wasn't just a power source. It was a consciousness seed. A living program grown from alien DNA. Something they had hidden inside him from the very beginning. Every pain, every flicker of heat inside his chest wasn't malfunction. It was awakening. He placed his hand on the panel, and the system screamed. Not with sound, but with light, bright, violent, endless. The entire lab shook. Glass shattered. Consoles melted. She screamed his name, but he didn't hear her because Elias was somewhere else. Floating. Inside a memory that wasn't a memory. A voice spoke in the dark. Not alien. Not human. His own, but older, colder. You were never made to run, the voice said. You were made to return. Images flashed. Hundreds of sleeping clones. Deep in the frozen tunnels. Entire rooms filled with failed experiments, all connected to him. He was the key, the original, the first. And now, the trigger. Back in the lab, she crawled toward him, reaching for the panel. You'll lose yourself, she begged. Come. Back. But Elias turned to her, and his eyes glowed gold. It's too late, he said softly. It's choosing now. The storm outside stopped, just like that. Dead still. And then something beneath the ice moved. Not a machine, not a clone. Vessel. Ancient. Alien. Woken by his signal. She stared out the cracked window in horror. You didn't shut it down. Elias looked out with her. No, he whispered. I opened it.